Girl, get your sparkle on, because we are decoding all things Twilight on this vampire-filled 2023 Halloween special of that song from that movie. Mr. Mayor, if you want to know who the real vampire is, then look in the mirror.
I can't. I'm a vampire.
Thank you for joining that song from that movie, the journey through the very best and worst of movie songs. I am your tightly holding spider monkey host, Dietrich, and joining us is a vegetarian, in the sense that he doesn't eat human meat, at least, Alex.
Sort of sums up in my diet.
What, just no human meat?
I mean, I do draw the line at human meat.
If you have to say it, then it makes you worry.
It does.
It assumes that at some point it was at least considered.
Yeah. And completing the lineup is the palest person in Arizona, Ben.
At one point in my life, I may well have been.
But I thought people from Arizona were supposed to be tan.
Well, I wasn't, and still am not.
I would like to know, in the past fortnight, what have you been watching?
Spooky edition.
Extra spooky.
I haven't actually watched any horror films.
Boo. I saw a classic at the cinema.
Go
on.
If I do this sound, let's see, this is a test of your horror knowledge. If I make this sort of sound and you know what it is. Any idea?
Nope.
It sounded like you were trying to, blow soup.
Yeah, it's like a... It's a weird sound that they play in the movie Friday the 13th every time the villain shows up. And who's the villain in Friday the 13th?
Jason?
No, it's Jason's mum.
Oh, right, okay.
Jason's mum?
Yeah, the original Friday the 13th, the bad guy is not Jason Voorhees. That's in all the other 9 Jason films plus Freddy v. Jason. It's in the original, it is just Jason's mum getting revenge.
In a mask and with a chainsaw?
Nope,
That's
none
not
of that.
part of
None
it.
of that.
I've not seen it, so...
Yeah, it makes it... I guess it's insinuating that there is a Jason, and there kind of is at the end, but spoiler. But generally, it's just a very old lady killing people, including Kevin Bacon.
Lovely.
You see his little chub as well. Anyway, moving on. Maybe don't include that bit.
What about you, Alex?
I got around to watching the film Tick, Tick, Boom.
Oh yeah, what do you think?
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah.
And I have been listening to the soundtrack non-stop for 2 weeks. Would recommend. Have you seen it?
Yeah, a few years ago.
Did you like it?
It's by the guy who did Rent, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. So, it was directed
that's not about... The film's not about Rent, I suppose, but...
No. I mean, it was directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, of course.
Yep.
But it's based on his one-man show, Jonathan Larson. I also watched the film About Time as well, which...
As in the British film?
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, not In Time.
Yeah, I always forget In Time and About Time. Oh, see, I love About Time.
It was alright. It was alright.
I want Bill Nye to be my dad. No offense to my dad.
Who wouldn't want Bill Nye from that film to be their dad? I mean, he can travel through time as well, which is nice.
Bill Nye is fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to watch a film in which Bill Nye tries to kill Hitler.
No, but it's specifically one of the things he said you can't do.
Yeah, well, you only say you can't, as we've established in the start of this episode by talking about human meat, by saying that you can't do it insinuates that you've tried. What you do?
I've not watched any films.
Oh,
sorry.
for God's sake.
But,
2 weeks! It's a movie podcast.
I came with 2 questions about TV shows, though. One for you, Ben, and one for you, Alex.
With questions.
If one's Taskmaster related, I'm quitting this podcast right now.
No, it's not. Although, maybe.
I have been watching it, yeah.
Yeah, me too. So let's start with Ben. Because I assume Alex hasn't. Have you watched Ahsoka?
No, I haven't, actually.
Well, I have, and
is it good?
I still can't decide if it's good or not.
Yeah.
So it's middling, I suppose.
No, I am in the process of not having Disney Plus in rotating through various things.
That's fair. And my question to Alex,
Go on.
which has now become a yearly tradition on this podcast, have you watched the new series of Brassic yet?
Right.
And I will give the same answer that I always give, which is no, never.
Well, you should. It's the best British show there is.
I'm watching that Fall of the House of Usher. That's quite fun.
Yeah, that's the next series of the sort of Netflix horror things.
Martin, whatever his name is, I don't know. Yeah, the Hill House dude.
Yes, yeah. Ooh, I might go watch that at some point. I've read that book, so.
After Brassic.
Is it an Edgar Allan Poe thing?
It's Edgar Allan Poe, yeah. It's a short story. Yeah. Not so much a book as implied, but yeah.
Well, we could segue this. This episode's about a book.
Oh,
Ish.
okay.
I'm sure you're fully aware, Alex.
Well, I'm aware it's based on a book.
I've seen that book on your shelves many a time. Your
Unread.
book burning shelf.
My book burning. I like the idea of having a shelf of books that you are going to eventually burn.
You keep adding it, you keep burning it, you keep adding it back.
That's what you do every bonfire night. Like November 6th, you start your book collection ready for the following November 5th. Mischievous night, you go to a local library and steal a load.
Yeah. Don't bring that up, D. Not after what's been going on.
Yeah.
With Batley Library.
R.I.P. Kirkley's Library.
What a niche reference.
Well, it made national news.
Well,
When you've heard of it, Ben.
not down here. I'm also in the nation and I
Okay.
haven't heard the news, therefore it doesn't exist.
What?
It was national news.
It hasn't made my ears, it's not a fact.
Okay. Right, I'm moving on. So Dracula and castles and Transylvania, this ain't. This year's Halloween special is all about Twilight. So to find out what was happening in the world when the movie came out...
Time for some history.
Lovely. Spookstery. 2 weeks, and that's the best you could come up with. Seeing a notepad just with various words crossed out.
He had Hister Spook written down for months.
It's the spook. It's the spook is so much better.
No.
We're not having to go too far into the past. I mean, I feel like I've got cold delirium right now. This is fantastic. I'm just huffing that Calpol. We're not having to go too far back into the past. We're going to November 2008, a time in which we were all alive. Yep.
Yes.
I believe so.
Good. Facts check out. Now, we've already done a film from this month. And so I went back to looking at some of the great films that came out in this month. Though great is subjective. What I want you to do is I'm going to say a film, and then I want you to say if the film afterwards is better or worse.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's like higher or lower.
It's like Bruce's play cards, right?
We're going to start with Role Models, the fantastic comedy.
Okay.
Good.
We're starting on a high.
Starting high, but then do we get even better with Madagascar 2, Escape to Africa?
No, we don't get better.
Definitely not.
We're going lower.
Can't even joke about it.
Okay. We're going from Role Models then to Slumdog Millionaire.
It depends.
Another film we've done.
Yes.
I would still say Role Models is better.
I mean, which film have I seen more? Role models. Whether that means
Okay.
better or not, I don't know.
Which one has the better jokes?
Yeah, which is the funnier film? Role models.
Okay, that's the thing. Which is the funnier film? Role Models or The Boy in Striped Pajamas? What's the difference?
Ooh. It's Role Models. Come on, Ben.
Still Role Models?
Yeah, still Role Models.
Role Models, is Role Models gonna... Well, Role Models won't top it because the film at the end is absolutely fantastic. We're going Role Models or Quantum of Solace.
Role models.
Role Models.
Quantum Solace is the worst Daniel Craig Bond film.
We're going Role Models or the Disney classic Bolt.
Bolt is good.
No, it's not. It's terrible.
Is it?
Alex, what are you going?
Role models.
Still Role Models.
I don't even think you need to say it for this next film. I know
Role
it's
Models.
not Twilight. It's not Twilight. No, Cap. Wait, D. The Baz Luhrmann classic,
Oh my god. Australia.
Australia. A film so good they named a country after it.
Role models.
It is the best thing to come out of that country. It's not Role Models. Australia is a fantastic film. And then we go Australia or Twilight.
Twilight.
No, so shocking. Anyway,
Or the movie Role Models.
Role Models wins, I guess.
Yes.
I'd have gone Madagascar Escape to Africa. I thought that was going to top them all. Anyway,
You'd written the entire segment around us picking that.
I have all my facts about Madagascar Escape to Africa are going to scrap now. Now, I didn't want to go too much into the comparison with the film we're going to talk about today because we're about to discuss that in more detail. So yes, we are looking at the romantic fantasy Twilight. So for the uninitiated, Twilight follows the love affair of Bella Swan and Edward Cullen, played by Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson respectively, as we follow a century-old vampire and a teenager who get it on. One of them's a vampire. Did I say that? Now, I find that weird. I find this film terrible. What do you find about this film?
What I'd say is that of the Twilight films I've seen, which I think is the first three, this might be the best one.
Okay, so what does that actually mean, though?
I think the thing is, like, it gets a bad rap, and there are some really bad things you could say about this film. I mean, the dialogue is some of the worst I think it's ever been.
Any good
put on
examples,
screen.
Alex, you want to give us?
Oh, God, I did write some down earlier.
Say it. Say it, Alex. Say it.
Well, the one I like is, I like watching you sleep. It's kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit.
I'm a big fan of I Like the Night. Without the dark, we'd never see the stars.
What's the one about the skin of a killer or something? It's like, I've got the skin of a killer. It's something like that. You're my own personal brand of heroin.
Whoa.
Straight out of a Radiohead song.
D already picked one in the beginning. You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey. That whole part when he's like, she walks into the kind of like the biology lab or whatever, and he kind of has like what appears to be an orgasm under the desk.
He looks like that kid from that meme when he's like trying to hold on from saying something because there's a pretty woman next to him.
Now, I watched the film a few weeks ago, but I couldn't remember this quote. But when I was looking it up, there's a quote, at least it's in the book, saying that says "stupid shiny Volvo owner," which I do enjoy. It's bad.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you know. It's not great, but it's also not...
Why are you softly defending this film? Let's beat it to a pulp.
Because I think it's a very... I think that what you have to accept is that a lot of people liked this film. So there must be something good in it. There has to be something likable in it. So there has to be... You know, there would have been a lot of people who moved from the book to the film, but probably the film sparked a lot of people's interest in the franchise.
Yep.
And then turned them to the book. So... there was something in this film that really resonated with people at the time. I mean, it is very mid to late noughties visual aesthetic when you look at it.
Oh my god, yeah. It's like they might as well throw star wipes in. There's that many edits or sound effects. Especially the scene. We'll talk about it a little bit. Yes, we'll talk about it a little bit in a bit. But the baseball scenes, some of the effects used in that scene is, oh my gosh. It's very school project.
Did they ever explain why it's so dark where they live? Is that ever explained?
No.
It's just very grey there all the time.
It's incredibly grey.
So it's very cringe. The film is very cringy. But, you know, it's a film for teenagers, so teenagers are cringy. We all lived it. We were exactly 17 when this film came out.
Yeah, I know, but I hated it then.
Yeah.
We were the age of this film.
I know you loved this book until you get to that period of needing to burn it, but...
Well, I'll get this straight right now. I have never read this book.
Oh, that takes out all my later questions, Alex.
We rely on you, Alex. Come on.
We rely on you as the literary figurehead of this podcast.
Yeah, if it's anything to do with books, it's you. If it's anything to do with Jackass, it's me.
Yeah.
And Ben's the one that goes to see films.
I see.
Ben is the film guy of the film.
I am the guy that this podcast needs.
It's the film man. And none of us are the music people.
No. I've never listened to an album in my life.
No. So, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is, like, it's very cringe. It's not very good, but there's something in it that just makes it bearable. And obviously it resonated with people at the time, so I think we've got to give it something for that. I don't know what we've got to give it.
I know. It feels like the project tasked you with defending this. It's like we're on the BBC.
Yeah, there's real Andy Lau 9 out of 10 vibes coming out of Alex right now.
Yeah, there definitely is. This is an Andy Lau.
I just felt like I was coming into this thinking that you two were going to really rip it to pieces.
Well, I am here.
I haven't given my opinion yet.
Okay, let's pause. D?
It's not good, is it?
No. Brilliant, D.
Back to Alex.
Do you know what it is? There'll be some of our listeners who are thinking, I love that film, Twilight. I can't wait for them to do the episode. And I just want
I love that film, Twilight, me. Proper good British film.
I just want to be there for those people. I want someone to be the voice of, you know, seeing the best in this film.
Okay.
Well, thank you for being that, Alex. Thank you for your really...
public service.
Yeah. All those points that you made about why the film is good. or not terrible.
I must say, when I was writing my notes for this film, I was thinking that as well, Alex, thinking there's clearly something to this film that people resonated with and still like to this day. So I didn't want to like go too hard on it because there's clearly something there. I don't know what it is particularly, other than the fact that like the cast are quite hot.
Yeah, that was literally
it's a big part of it.
It is leaning on that for quite a lot of the film.
Yeah, and coming on to the music that we'll be talking about later, there was probably an element of that also in our youth.
Yeah, so I'd never seen the movie until the other week.
You don't even need to preface that anymore, do you? You've never seen a film.
I'm surprised by that. I feel like I'm surprised you didn't see this at the time.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where it was like it's as we just said, it's much loved by some but mocked by most. So I never really gave it a go.
Fair enough.
But it's just simply terrible, isn't it?
Yes, come to the dark side.
I even thought the first 10 minutes, where it's like a colour drained Mean Girls, was actually quite good. And I was willing it to be good from that point onwards as well, given there's still like another hour and 50 minutes left. Because they even do like the, if you're from Africa, why are you white joke from Mean Girls. But
oh my God, you can't just ask someone why they're white.
But yeah, it's just not, it's not very good. And like, for example, like the villain is introduced an hour and 35 minutes in.
Yeah, that is hilarious, isn't it?
And I know that because I was so bored that I checked the runtime that was left. And I was surprised that there was only 25 minutes of the film
and
left.
the villain isn't even the main villain that's introduced.
No, and he doesn't even really have much of an actual, like, villainous, like, antagonistic view. He just wants to eat human. And because Bella is the main person in the film, that's the person he wants to eat.
Yeah, there are lots of other humans that you wouldn't have to fight a vampire for. I know it's the whole thing that it's like, oh, well, actually, it's forbidden now.
Yeah, but, like, come on. Flesh is flesh, right? Right, guys?
Also, the fact that they like, oh, they were walking away, but then they heard us playing baseball, so they came back. Which they actually say.
Yeah, and even then, when they figure out how to stop him, they seem to create this plan where they have to, like, needlessly emotionally scar Bella's dad before they can just go and kill him, because they can just go and kill him.
No, you know, I don't think we're going to go into the depths of the Twilight verse, but I think Bella's dad gets scarred by the fact that he has a granddaughter that ages about 10 years in front of his eyes. Spoiler, she has a child and then it just becomes an adult.
God, is that actually what happens?
I mean, do you not know what that happens? Oh, yeah, and then what's the other guy called? Taylor Lautner falls in love with it. He imprints on it. He falls in love with a child.
Jacob.
Fucking hell.
Yep.
Because he was quite wholesome in the first film.
There's a lot of, like, kind of very uncomfortable tendencies in relation to the romantic swings of this film.
I really dislike the word imprints. Imprints on her. What's that?
He literally does. That's literally it. He sees the baby being born and therefore he imprints on it and has to protect it. Now, I didn't even mention director Catherine Hardwicke in the synopsis because the film has very little direction. Despite that, despite all these things that we've said, the film was a huge success. It made over $400 million on a budget of $37 million.
I'm surprised the budget was that high.
Well, I know, yeah.
It feels very low budget when you watch it.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, I won't even say like it spawned sequels. It unleashed them. They were thrust upon the world. I mean, I know like J.K. Rowling released the books very quickly, but like these books came thick and fast. I felt like there was just a Twilight movie always on. Like it was just always there. And then I think it split the last one into two.
Yeah.
Was Harry Potter the first one to do that? Because I think Twilight was pretty much around that. I don't know what was the first sort of that spawned that awful like thing where it went trend. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. To the point where we had two divergent films,
but we didn't.
Oh no, we didn't. But that was the plan, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the plan. They did whatever it was, something Divergent Part 1, and they just never did Part 2. And like the Maze Runner as well did the same thing.
Oh my God, the fucking Maze Runner. There was no maze after the first film.
Prison Break problem.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
How do we get them back in a prison? How do we get them back in a maze?
That does happen though, doesn't it? Don't they go back to prison?
They do go back to prison.
They should call it back to prison. No, anyway.
Back to prison.
So yeah, Twilight is based on it was a successful novel by Stephanie Meyer, who did all of the Twilight films. I've never read the books. All I know is that the original script for this film was nothing to do with the books. It was to take the loose material and concept and create an entire new narrative. Now, apparently that was not going well. There was 4 or 5 different versions of the scripts until Catherine Hardwicke came in and said, no, we need to go back to the book. So blame her.
I mean, I don't have any problem with them going back to the book. I mean, why did it need to have the Twilight name if you were just doing a completely separate sexy vampires film?
Yeah, I mean, when did have vampires always been like a sort of a teen thing, like building up?
I think you were going to say that they've always been sexy.
I mean, we know vampires have always been, ever since Nosferatu.
There was obviously Buffy before this. Buffy blazed the trail.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, but was
Buffy ran so there's good one.
And of course, there were sexy vampires in Blade.
Yeah, Blade.
Oh yeah,
Wesley Snipes.
No, was it like a teen thing? Was this the teen introduction?
Well, I think that's what I'm saying with Buffy. Buffy, they were all teenagers, weren't they? Technically.
Well, I suppose kind of.
I mean, they weren't.
Is it like the American teenager though, where they're actually like 29?
Yeah.
What's up, my dudes? Anyone ever heard of the other casting options?
No, for which roles?
Are we doing like a higher and lower sexiness this time?
No, unfortunately. So all the people that were considered for Edward are not famous. That's the crux of it. Okay. But for Bella, there was Lily Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was J-Lo, Jennifer Lawrence.
Well, I guess she got her own YA films, didn't she?
She did.
Better
I mean, it's the
films.
thing. I remember at the time, Kristen Stewart was like heavily criticised for her acting, but she is a pretty decent actress. Like, she's been in some good stuff, and I think she got the role because Catherine Hardwicke saw her in Into the Wild, which she has a very small role in, but it's a very good film. But she is pretty poor in these films. I know there's not much to work with.
I was going to say they don't have a lot to work with, and as well, it's like be grey, be drab. She nails it.
I suppose if you're being asked that. There was a lot. I remember there's a lot spoken about Robert Pattinson towards the end of the Twilight saga, that he basically was like hated his existence in the films. But it sounded like, from what I've read, that he hated it from the start, like even beforehand. So there's this little story here about during the casting time. So he arrived at Catherine Hardwicke's house in LA for a test screening, and according to Hardwicke, he was kind of wild looking with scraggly black dyed hair and a stain on his shirt. He also had, apparently, a hairless, chubby body from drinking beer all day for a few months. He clearly put his effort into this, and then apparently it was just after one audition on her bed with Bella. I think they were doing a kissing scene. The two of them kissed, and she said he was the one. And I think they dated for a bit after that.
Let's just rewind here. Why were they doing an audition on Catherine Hardwicke's bed?
This is how it was, Alex, back in the day. This is the wild age of Hollywood in 2008.
I mean, this sounds really, really dodgy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always these things. It was like when we did Pretty Woman, and he said, like, I know they said they got along, but it was just like they were just laid on the bed, just tickling, like, each other. There's always these awkward things, and I just love the effort. Like, he's just been getting pissed for a month, and just walks in with a stained shirt, and like, yeah, I'm here. It's fucking Cedric Diggory just rolling the joint.
My boy!
Why did all of the fight scenes look like the... I want to use the term iconic, but I guess it's only really iconic between us. But why did they all look like the Skipper the Eye Child episode of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place? They all had like the over-the-top fight choreography and random shots in slow motion. Things on strings.
It's just the sound effects, like the punch sound effects and the as they run past each other.
I think someone says my ass is grass at some point, Yeah, all the fight scenes, I was just thinking it looks like Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
I think it's because the film just looks really... The first one just looks really low budget and cheap. Like all of it, like the glitter effect, the running, the fight scenes, just everything.
The Sonic legs.
Just Sonic legs about it. And it's like, they clearly, I think when they made the first one, they didn't expect it to explode in the way that it did.
No, they didn't.
It's not like with Harry Potter, as a comparison, where that first film was like huge budget already, glossy as anything, like the biggest film that came out. I don't think this was released and they were like, this is going to make 400 million.
And yet, 37 million, Alex.
I know, well, that sounds like a lot, but maybe it's not. I mean, I think that's probably is low to medium budget.
Maybe it's not. You must be doing well in life.
Well, for a film budget, I mean, like how much of the budget's
it is
for,
quite low for a film budget.
Yeah,
it's like that is what is I suppose akin to like a mid-budget film nowadays.
It's probably a mid-budget film, which they don't really make anymore. But yeah,
they don't know. We have to thank Twilight for that.
Well, I mean, probably Twilight, New Moon. Is that the second one? I think it's the second one.
There's all of them. Something Dawn.
I think Breaking Dawn is
Eclipse.
the later ones. I think Eclipse is the third one. I think it's New Moon. That one probably had like a double the budget, I bet. It had Michael Sheen in it.
Well, that one had a proper fight scene in it. That's all I remember. It was a big old fight scene.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think anyone who likes this film cares about the ending. I think as soon as the villain comes in, there's less Edward and Bella, and so people turn off.
I think all people care about is the dance scene on the gazebo, or whatever it is.
Yep, that's exactly all I care about. Okay, so the soundtrack for Twilight was put together by a lady called Alexandra Patsavas, who is mostly known for her TV show work, so she does a lot of soundtrack for TVs, including Grey's Anatomy and The O.C.
Oh my god.
Which we all remember the song from The O.C.
Well, we all remember just the general soundtrack from The O.C. was great.
Yeah, so and that's the thing. The soundtrack for this film is pretty good. Stephenie Meyer was consulted on the soundtrack. I think she was consulted on the film quite a lot as well, but she was consulted on the soundtrack. And a lot of the songs, or the general vibe of the soundtrack, is based, apparently, on the music that she was listening to while she was writing the novels. So it might not have been necessarily the songs, but the kind of music. So we have the likes of Muse, Linkin Park, and as we will go on to talking about, Paramore. there is a song that's used, like the only song that I think stands out to being used in the film is what is the first track on the album, which is Supermassive Blackhole by Muse, which is played over the baseball scene. I think to make it cool. It doesn't really work. It's not edited well over it. It just plays almost in full, just over the baseball scene.
It's a great song.
It is a good song. It is a good song. But that wasn't the single for the film. Just before we go on to that, when we just mentioned there about the vibe, you know, this kind of Muse, Linkin Park, a potentially affiliated soundtrack of our youth, do you feel that vibe fits the film from what you know about it?
I'm going to say yes.
I agree. I think it does fit. I think because it's trying to go for this kind of like emo vibe. And, you know, the songs all kind of fall in.
Emo is a word that definitely stands out.
Yeah, and, you know, that music all kind of falls within that genre. And emo was big in the noughties. We all know it. We were all part of it. It was there.
We all had the fringe.
We all had the fringe at one point in our lives.
Yeah, I had the fringe. I know. My driving license, my God, I was so thankful when I aged 10 years out of that bad boy.
So I think that I think it did suit. Yeah, I think it was a good direction to go in.
Yeah,
but I don't, like you said, I'm not sure because this film it does feel so low budget. There's just nothing really kind of works. So like you said, that Supermassive Black Hole in that scene doesn't quite work. Yeah. So like, although I think like if you were to put them next to each other, you'd be like, yes, this should work. Maybe they're not flowing connected very well.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
You know, I do have to credit this soundtrack to introducing me. So Iron and Wine, they had a song, Flightless Bird, American Mouth, and I really do love Iron and Wine. So I have to thank the soundtrack for this. And maybe we'll cover them another day. But some of the sequels do have a decent soundtracks as well. I think Christina Perri had a very few big songs from them, didn't she?
She did, yeah. 1,000 Years. Classic.
That's the one.
And I think for the second film, I think it was actually the main song was Death Cab for a Cutie, I think.
Yes, I think you're right.
Just to come back to the film, actually, before going to song, and I think it links to this. I think what's lacking is like actually any humour. It's like too earnest in what it's trying to do. You know, everything is too serious. Yeah. It's like One Tree Hill.
That's probably like the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and maybe that's what because it's a teenage film. Maybe they should have added a bit more of that in there. Because I'm thinking of the OC, you make the comparison with the OC, and the OC has a similar soundtrack, but the OC has comedy elements to it, which makes it good. But it makes the darker and more serious when you have the light in there. And this is all just like I'm a vampire.
It is interesting because usually there is that formula of any kind of like school-based drama, even to have a third wheel comedic character, and you know that's a trope that I think is common in a lot of teen-based films.
Yeah.
And the only kind of like the person in this is it Anna Kendrick?
Yes, she is in it.
Who is just like a nothing character. And then it's the family who are void of personality outside of their appearances. There is nothing outside of Bella and Jacob. Not Bella and Jacob. Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't get angry with Bella and Jacob.
Team Jacob. He's Team Jacob.
I always was Team Jacob.
I was definitely Team Jacob to begin with, but after you've described him implanting on a child, I'm not sure that I'm Team Jacob anymore.
Imprinting, Alex. Imprinting. Implanting. That's a different film. Right, okay, so...
Go on to the song.
Yeah. The second song on the soundtrack is the song which we will cover today. And yet a song not really featured in the film, and that is Decode by Paramore. We'll go into a bit of facts about the song, but before that, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, it's another fantastic song. Like I said, this movie has a lot of faults, but yeah, it does have a banging soundtrack.
Yep.
As you just said, I was shocked to find out that this was simply a credits song in the film, and not even the very first song in the credits. It's the second credits song.
Yep.
Like, despite its prominence as that song from Twilight, and its Twilight-themed music video,
yep.
And the fact that me and my wife went to see Paramore a couple of months ago, and they played Decode, and they literally had clips of Twilight projected on the stage.
Really did it, actually.
And still, it's not even properly in the film. It's just weird.
No,
Couldn't they have done an Edward Sonic Legs in the jungle moment to this song or something?
Yep.
Go back and add a scene now to the film with this song. No one who likes the movie is going to complain about more Twilight, and I guess people who don't like the movie won't even care. So like, it's a win-win. So let's just start comparing now to get this song actually added into Twilight. In fact, it's even a Michael Scott win-win-win, because I'll have successfully improved a film that I'm never going to watch again.
Yeah, that's fair. Alex?
Yeah, it's a great song. Great song. I don't know what I would say. It's this is it. Like, when I knew we were doing this, like, I can immediately visualize the music video to this song because it was all over Kerrang and Scuzz at the time. and that kind of like first sort of like dissonant chimes of the beginning of the song. Just the immediate visual I have is the panning across the exceptionally grayscale like forest.
It is exceptionally grey.
Of the town. What's the town called again in this? Do you remember?
Nilbog.
Nilbog.
It's goblin spelled backwards.
Goblin backwards.
But I just, it just immediately takes me to that moment. And it's just a great song. It's surprised to hear that it doesn't, although I don't remember it being in the film, so that makes sense, but that it was so, like, really not used even in the later stages of the credits. Because I think it was just a song for this film, wasn't it? It wasn't on an album. Yeah. But it came out after the first.
I think it was featured on a deluxe version later on. But yeah, it was a single for the film.
Yeah, because it came out after the Riot album, and then but before the is it Brand New Eyes? I think was the one after.
Yep.
It came out in between them, and so because it was like when Paramore started to become huge, this song like absolutely banged, didn't it? It just I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of their best performing chart songs. Because I think it came right at that apex between their two big albums, or as what I would deem their two big albums when they were big when I was listening to them. So I know they've done albums since then that have had big songs on, but yeah, it's just tune. It's just an absolute tune.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Paramore have reinvented themselves. So I mean, Paramore are an American rock band, kind of made their fame in that sort of post-punk emo scene in the early noughties, and then continued to find success through, I don't know, as fans, I guess, have you seen recently, it's not a reinvention, and I know they've gone through various different acts with Hayley Williams, always the vocalist and the face of the band, and probably was the face of like the alternative scene in a lot of ways, especially from a female point of view.
Definitely.
How would you describe their kind of change? Because they are still radio favourites.
Yeah, I don't think they've changed too much. I think all they've really done, to their credit, I suppose, is just tapped into the sort of like more melodic music that you hear today. Like, there's a lot of current Paramore songs that if you re-recorded it with like a Billie Eilish, it wouldn't sound too dissimilar.
Yeah.
So it's not a reinvention, but it is just adapting to the times.
Yeah, I guess evolution rather than revolution.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I do like Decode, but I think it is a song that dates itself more than probably any of their other songs. Because if there is an emo tinge to Paramore, this is the song.
Yeah, oh yeah.
This is so emo. The singing, the prolonged notes on that chorus are so like that whiny. I'm trying not to criticize emo too much as being such a big part of my youth, but it is bloody whiny.
I think it's interesting that because I think they are a band, like you said, that have changed. I feel like the more modern or the more recent songs that I've heard of theirs are a bit hookier, aren't they? They're a bit poppier. I think like the album before Decode was definitely was like more rocky. I mean, it was still pop to an extent, but it was like it was more grungy in its kind of like guitar riffs and things. But I think the album after Decode was getting more more emo based. Like it felt more emo.
Brand New Eyes,
yeah. And I think that this song kind of bridges those two albums because of where literally it was. So I think it is it still has kind of that rockier element to it, but it is kind of pulling lyrically towards that more emo sound.
Yeah.
But I think that does really tie in well with the film. Like, I think because it's a song written for the film, which isn't often the case when we've done this podcast, is it? It's rare that there's a song that seems to be written specifically for a film. Obviously the James Bond ones would be examples of where they are, but a lot of the times it feels like they've taken a song that already exists and kind of made it fit, or the song was written for something else and then repurposed. But this is like, it feels very connected.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, it's not directly referencing the film in its lyrics, but what it's talking about.
Well, see that, and that's, but to be fair, Hayley Williams says it is.
Okay.
So I mean, I'll describe what she said. So she says in the kind of the development of the song title and lyrics, she said that they chose the title Decode because the song is about building tension, awkwardness, anger and confusion between Bella and Edward. Bella's mind is the only one which Edward can't read, and I feel that's a big part of the first book and one of the obstacles for them to overcome. It's one added tension that makes the story even better.
Fair enough.
So that's, to me, is very clearly she's writing it about the characters.
Yeah, but
I never thought that when the song came out, and I really...
it's clearly an inspiration in it, but I feel like a lot of the other lyrics don't directly link. I mean, one of the big main lines in it is, how did we get here when we used to know each other so well? They've only just met in this film. So that just does not, that does not tally. So there's clearly, like, you know,
maybe he imprinted on her, Alex.
Yeah, maybe, I suppose, yeah, who knows. It's like this whole thing about them having this, like, deep-rooted connection from some sort of past bygone era or something, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I ain't got to fight Scooby-Doo. It's like, no, it's not Interview with the Vampire.
It certainly is not.
Yeah, I mean, you inferred it a bit, but yeah, the song was an international commercial success. Likely a combination through, so Paramore were already a platinum-selling artist at this point, the second album, Riot, which had songs like Misery Business, Crush, 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 that did very well and made, you know, they exploded onto the scene more or less at that point. So there's that, they're bringing that fan base, as well as the huge Twilight fan base. The song was a top 20 single in Australia, France, New Zealand. It was top 40 in the US and the UK. And I think was their biggest hit after Misery Business. And I think Misery Business is very similar, at least in the States. The song was nominated for, you know, stupid fucking Grammy names. Was nominated for Best Song Written for a Motion Picture, Television, or Other Visual Media. It lost out to a song we've already covered on this podcast. Which is?
Love Take Me Down to the Streets by Wings. Nope. Oh.
Yeah, the song from Slumdog Millionaire. Jai-Ho.
That's the one, which is understandable. I remember during our youth, I mean, obviously, you know, Hayley Williams was on the front cover of, like, every kind of, like, alternative magazine, I feel like. And I was reading some of the, like, critical reviews of this song, which generally, you know, musical critics quite liked the song. There's like commenting on like there's a feeling of like tension and urgency in the song, and that most of that's inflected upon Hayley Williams' vocals. But it was interesting that I saw someone comment saying that there was an Evanescence-like romanticism. I don't think the two bands sound at all like each other.
No.
But I think this song does.
Okay.
This sounds like Going Under.
Okay, yeah. There was always the thing between Amy Lee and Hayley Williams that basically they were desperate for any sort of female front cover, like to be able to be pushed for the alternative media. But yeah, I do get it for this song, I suppose. The band generally and Evanescence have very little in common, but this song is very, very emo, isn't it?
To me, it sounds like Going Under, which I would argue is probably one of the lighter Evanescence songs. So it almost like feels like they're meeting in the middle here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Variety magazine put this as one of the greatest emo songs of all time.
Fair. I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah, I won't argue it. I mean, the list is, you know, well, it is filled with some emo classics. It was annoying because it wasn't a top 5, but there was just like a list of them. Any guesses, any shout outs for what should be on the list?
Black Parade. Welcome to the Black Parade.
Yeah.
Just loads of bands that have died a death. You know, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
Oh my god, yeah.
Motion City soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
The Used.
Oh god, yeah. Hawthorne Heights. Dashboard Confessional. People like this.
Cancer Bats.
Cancer Bats. What a terrible name for a band. Oh my word. Sunny Day Real Estate. Taking Back Sunday with a song Cute Without the E.
Cute Without the E. It's a great song.
You could not get away with that nowadays, could you? 30 Seconds to Mars, Alex, one of your old classics.
Still are.
Still are. Are you going to join his cult when he comes round?
No.
Apparently he lives on an island with just loads of people, so if that's not a cult.
Yeah, he's a strange guy.
Just a bit. Any final comments you want to make about the music video, which is basically them pretending slightly to be vampires while they roam around a wood?
Yeah, they're just in the wood, aren't they? Also all wearing grey.
Yeah.
There's more colour in that video than the entire film, simply because of Hayley Williams' hair.
Yeah. Definitely. It's the most colour that's in any of the combined media.
Absolutely, the entire combination of Twilight media.
Yeah, I will say, it tricked me into thinking that the song was going to be in the film, because it does feel like it's part of Twilight, if not necessarily the colour grading greyness of the actual film itself.
Absolutely.
It captures the vibe.
Yeah, aye, that's what I mean. And to be fair, one compliment, I do like films and music that will have synergy. Vibe is important.
Mm-hmm.
All about the vibes.
It's all about the vibes, no cap.
Top 5.
Kept it simple, because why not? So you have to tell me the top 5 most successful in terms of box office Robert Pattinson films, excluding any Twilight film.
Okay.
Because it just would have been Twilight.
Oh, really? Would it? Does that count Harry Potter 4?
Yeah, the Goblet of Fire.
It does. It's number 1.
Okay.
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, 900 million.
Okay, come on, we can do this. Batman?
Batman, 2. You're even doing this in order. $775 million.
Oh, God.
Wowzers.
Tenant
Tenant is 3rd.
Alex?
350 million. Come on. This gets difficult now. I'm going to be honest. It's quite a significant drop in revenue.
Cosmopolis?
I don't even know what that is. So
yeah,
no.
I don't even know if it's a film. Good Time?
Nope.
That Lighthouse film.
No, I did check that.
yeah,
no,
nice.
it's not.
There's one about elephants. He's in a film about elephants. Is it that?
Oh,
What's it
what
called?
not the City of Z, not the City of Z or something.
No, that's not on it. But Alex is
I can't remember what it's called, but he was in a film about elephants.
Water for Elephants.
Water for Elephants is fourth. 125 million. You're one away from doing this in the perfect order, and you're never going to get this.
You love.
You're never gonna get it.
Never gonna get it.
No.
Never gonna get it.
When is it? Can you give us a clue? Like what year is it from?
Oh, let me check. I haven't written that down.
Is
on
it
my list.
post Twilight? Is it post Twilight? It's not like an early.
2010.
Oh, okay, so it's like in the middle.
I think it's between this film, Twilight, and the next Twilight. It was like, I haven't seen it, but I think it was an attempt to do a sort of like rom-com.
Charlie St. Cloud,
Trying
one
to
of those
test-
ones.
Yeah, like a Charlie St. Cloud, but not that,
That's like
because
a
that's
rom-com.
Zac Efron.
What was it?
I think they were testing the waters as to whether or not Robert Pattinson was a leading man.
I honestly can't think.
Do you want me to give you the plot synopsis and see
Yeah,
if
go on,
it's
go on.
jogs your memory?
Go on.
Tyler, a young man, meets Allie under strange circumstances. She eases his trauma. However, soon, Tyler happens to learn her secret, which creates a divide between them.
That sounds the shittest film ever.
If it helps, Allie is played by Emily DeRavin, who plays Claire in Lost.
God.
I'm sure that
Fuck,
helps.
this does not at all. This is a shit film.
It has a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
I didn't realise that Claire from Lost had ever been in anything else. I've never seen it.
I didn't even think she was a real person.
No, I don't.
Go on, you're gonna have to give it.
I'll say it's a film called Remember Me, which made
Maybe.
50 million.
No.
So
Yeah.
I've never seen this film, but I knew it existed. But when I look on Google right now, it has like the people also ask section. It says, "What is the plot twist of Remember Me?"
What is the plot? Is it that she doesn't remember me?
Right, I'm going to click it, and spoiler alert, I guess.
If
Whatever.
there's a vampire in it, that's quite a good twist.
It says, while the attacks are never explicitly shown, the film ends in a way that lets us know that Tyler was killed in the attacks that day, while Charles was spared since he was living with Caroline. Now,
Is it like a Sixth
is
Sense?
this a 9/11 film?
God.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Oh my god, it is. It is.
Is it a 9/11 film?
Yeah. So we cutting back to Tyler, we see him looking out of the window of his father's office as he waits for Charles, and we work out that he's on the 101st floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
Christ.
That's the
Jesus
twist ending of this
Christ.
film. What the fuck?
Okay, now. Bloody hell.
Wow.
I hope that film is never remembered.
Okay, so now it's time to decide what is better, the movie or the song, so Twilight versus Decode. Alex, go ahead.
Decode. Simple.
I think I could have guessed you were going to say that. And I'm also going to say that.
Song wins!
Yep. Is it a
What's
white
the
one?
spookier?
What's spookier? What's more bloodthirsty? I guess I got to go Twilight. Change your mind.
No, Decode.
I mean, it's spookier in terms of how scary the script is.
Yep.
We're going to go out on that joke.
Yep, that's a good one. Alex with a zinger to finish.
So that brings us into another episode of That Song from That Movie. Let us know which one you prefer, the movie or the song, on one of our many social media platforms. So on Twitter, on Threads, on Instagram. We're now on Blue Sky, on Hive. Ben, what is our social media handle?
At TSFTM Pod. You can't say Twitter anymore, can you?
I'm still saying Twitter.
Good.
Well, I'll keep saying Twitter until the point I have to pay for it, in which case I'll call it nothing because I won't be using it.
Good.
So you can help the podcast in many ways, and one of those ways is by sharing this on a random subreddit. But Alex, what random subreddit should they share it on this week?
Matt Bellamy.
Nice.
Yeah, it's best work.
Nice.
Arguably. I don't know.
Arguably. It's definitely, I mean, anything can be argued.
Yeah. So you can also help the podcast by leaving us a 5-star review, telling all your friends about the podcast. And if you've enjoyed this episode and you've got this far, you probably did. So why not subscribe if you haven't already? We've got Patreon, we've got merch. All the links are in the show's notes. So all I have now is do some goodbye. So it's goodbye from myself, goodbye, and a spooky goodbye from Alex.
About 3 things. I was...
He can't even do it. He can't. He literally can't even do it.
About
Come
3
on.
things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how dominant that part may be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. Come on. That's awful.
And goodbye from Ben.
And the fourth, he has the world's largest cubic zirconia on his coffee table.
So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, his sneakers were for sneakers.
Much more vertical than usual. So yes, we are looking at... I'm going to have to sneeze. Remuted myself. I'm like doing the Ty Zonde thing, like he moves away from the mic to breathe.